virtues of life. He looked down at the sand. Men are greedy. They lust for power and gold. They use religion for their own purposes. Nazar said this as his eyes focused on each man. Then if you despise that way of life, why imitate it? Captain Hayward came out of the circle a step or two. You are a priest after all. This brought a growl from deep inside Nazar's chest. Do not question morals with me. He clapped his hands. This signalled several destroyer drones to dismount. We have long stopped being priests. We worship a different messiah now. Captain Hayward moved back into the circle. Mankind has many faults and is far from perfect. Charles looked at his men, their red tunics torn and covered in blood. But you have chosen darkness over light. Ha ha! You will pray for darkness soon, Captain. Nazar came close to Captain Hayward again. The destroyer drones circled the captain's men and waited on Nazar's command. Captain Hayward looked at Corporal Hines. He had a disappointed look on his face. Lay down your weapons, men. Charles was clear. The British soldiers took a moment or two to react, but then began to place the rifles and revolvers in the soft sand. These were picked up by the destroyer drones. Knives and any other weapons they had were also laid down. Nazar leaned into Charles's face. Your pain is only just beginning. Captain Hayward looked down at the sand. In his mind's eye, he saw his garden in Sunning Hill, and Arthur and Emily playing in it. Their faces were happy and they were laughing with each other. He then saw Rebecca coming out of the house with a cool drink. His vision of that bliss began to fade. As his men were having their hands tied, he reached down to grab his sword, which was still in the sand. Nazar had turned to the side as he watched the drones leading the prisoners away. This is when Captain Hayward struck. Moving his right hand forward, he pulled the sword out of the sand. Adjusting his feet, he lunged forward with the blade, pointing at Nazar's head. Nazar turned slightly, catching a quick glimpse of light, flashing off the iron. That moment was enough for him to lower and twist his head. The sword's